So today on Chris Chandler-Yates' podcast, Fighting the Burnout, we have AJ Mihrzad, I believe I'm pronouncing that right.
Yes.
We're interviewing him today. He is he's wrote books. Let's just pull up his bio. So we've got author of best-selling books, Master Your Inner Game, The Mind-Body Solution, Train Your Brain for Permanent Weight Loss. He's been recently inducted into the Personal Trainer Hall of Fame. He's been in Entrepreneur Magazine, Huffington Post, Men's Fitness, Travel Globe, and Bodybuilding.com. The list goes on. I know I was watching a podcast he did the other day, and he's went from personal trainer to helping people build multi-million-dollar businesses. So instead of me continually talking about who you are, AJ, why don't you tell us a bit about yourself and your backstory?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I've been burnt out many times in my life, and I think the first time was being a personal trainer. I started off personal training because I lost 60 pounds. I was an overweight kid, big part of my life, and at my heaviest, I was over 213 pounds. So from there, I decided, I need to have a life transformation. Once I got myself into shape, I want to help other people get into shape, and that led me to becoming a personal trainer. So originally, I had a great passion for helping people, and I was getting up at 5 a.m., worked till 9 p.m., training clients back to back to back. And at the time, I just enjoyed it, and I didn't realize I was putting myself into a slow burnout. With the personal training and a lot of time for money type of coaching, you're working all day long. You work during the weekends. You don't take vacations. You're working on your business in your spare time. So because of that, you don't take the time for yourself. And after doing it for many years, I had severe extreme burnout. And that led me to getting sick, and I destroyed a relationship that I had. I was not spending time with my family, not going on vacations. So from there, I decided to go into the online world because for me, it was like, okay, if I have to trade time for money and I can't take vacations and I can't, spend time with my friends and family, then I'm going to be burnt out, or I'm going to have this for the rest of my life. So I needed to create something more sustainable. Then around 2010, I started doing online training, and that helped me out tremendously because I no longer had to focus on going to the gym early in the morning or training clients all through the night. I then created a way of earning with my mind and not my time. So over time, that started to build up, and people started asking me to help them with their online coaching businesses. And I decided to do coaching in that realm. And I saw the same thing with a lot of people there. They were extremely burnt out, trading time for money, or spending time with their family, going on vacations. So then I was able to give them a strategy of taking their in-person skills and building an online business from it. And that just business really started taking off because at the time, a lot of people were not teaching how to create an online business. Luckily, I had one at the time, and I was just sharing what I was doing. So that led me to, being inducted into the Personal Training Hall of Fame within the fitness industry to teach people this methodology. And I just started to write a lot of books on various ways people could create income from what I call their superpower, right? We have this amazing innate skill, this zone of genius. And I find that if you could tap into your superpower, you're in a flow state, you're energized, you're creative. You just don't get tired. And if you don't get tired, you don't get burnt out. So really, that's my big mission, to help more people tap into their superpower and avoid burnout and have energy and creativity with their work.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. It's so powerful when you're doing what you love and you are using that superpower. You don't feel it. I mean, when you're doing the things that you don't enjoy, that's when you feel it. So what would you define burnout as for yourself?
Well, I think that it's this extreme lack of motivation. I feel when you wake up in the morning and you don't feel like doing anything, and it's like your dopamine is fully drained. So the only thing you find joy in is kind of like mundane activities. And, for some people, it's scrolling on their social media or playing video games or porn. There's just all these, what I call mundane activities. They're very high dopamine draining, but very low value. And I find that if I'm in a place where, I don't have my attention span, I'm trying to read a book, or if I'm trying to do some work and I find myself getting distracted all the time, then I'm getting closer to burnout. I think there's ways of telling, but an example of a high value, low dopamine activity is reading a book or writing or doing something creative. And if you're finding yourself not doing the important things that move your life, your business forward, but rather doing the things that are fun and easy, that are very low value, but high engagement, usually with technology, then you're getting into the signs of burnout.
Oh, okay, cool. No, I like that definition. I haven't heard that way of saying it before. It's quite cool. Yeah, no, that's makes me think a lot about different things. So what is it that you've learned over all these years of doing stuff to overcome or prevent yourself from experiencing the burnout, hitting those, doing the mundane scrolling and things like that?
Yeah, so I would say about 10 years ago, I got very deep into meditation, and I started having it as a consistent practice. Prior to then, I would meditate here and there, but it wasn't until I started to implement it as a daily habit. And I've tried various types of meditation, and I found that for me, one simple way that works is a 100-count breathing meditation. And it's very simple. I just breathe in through the nose, out through the mouth. 1, 2. And I use this as kind of a measuring stick to see how burnt out I am or how anxious I am. Because if I could get to 100 without taking a break or losing count, then my mind is clear and I'm very at peace. And if I find myself getting to 20, 30, getting distracted or turning on my phone, opening my eyes, then my mind is not in the right place. It's very chaotic. So I find that having various ways of self-awareness and introspection really tells you what's going on, So, of course, I meditate longer because cutting to 100 sometimes is 2 to 3 minutes. But for a lot of people who aren't hardcore meditators, it's a great simple test to see where you are internally. And I will meditate for 20, 30 minutes. And in those times, I will see where my mind is, where it's racing. And I find that your intuition is extremely strong. And oftentimes it tells you if you need to speed up or slow down. Another thing that I've learned through meditation is the power of naps. So other times when I cannot focus and I'm getting sleepy or tired, I'll just take a 20-minute power nap. And I find waking up from that, I feel rejuvenated. And that's something I've been implementing hardcore, daily naps. And I would say that has been a big secret of my success. I would not be the man I am today without my naps. In fact, I'm working regarding naps. It's called Sleep Your Way to the Top.
I like it. Now, you obviously have a team that works for you, correct?
Yes.
So what do you do? What have you implemented for your team, for those guys that do have teams, that work for them, or say their integrator team, they work for somebody else in their integrator team, and they want to help the people that they work with. What about what do you get your team to do, or what do you try and implement for your team to to help prevent them from getting burned out with what they're doing?
Yeah, I think one important thing is really having a balanced life and being leading by example. So coming from a fitness background, I'm always about nutrition, exercise, cardio, keeping your mind and body in the right place. Luckily, everyone that is on my team, they're all into health and fitness as well. Some of them are competitive bodybuilders, and it kind of works out where they have good, systems of avoiding burnout. And I'm a big fan of sharing resources with them. Anything that I learned with breath work, mindfulness, various ways of clearing the mind. I have a master's in psychology, so I have a lot of tools that have helped me throughout the years that I share with them. One thing that has helped me is an Aura ring. I don't know if you're familiar with this or the listeners are, but it's a great sleep tracker, activity tracker I've been using for the past year. And it gives me data on my sleep habits, my naps, my REM, deep sleep, how much activity. It even nudges you if you're laying down for a long period, like get up, get off your ass, do something. So all of these things, I find that if I share with my team, if I learn something awesome from a podcast, I'll give it to them. Keeps their mind and body fresh.
Okay, cool. And what would you recommend for somebody if they were seeing, if they believe somebody was starting to, get to that stage of burnout? How would you recommend somebody to, approach that?
Yeah, take time off. I mean, there's a simple reason why we take vacation and we take days off. I mean, in a perfect world, would be robots and work 7 days a week and be very productive. But I found myself, because, sometimes I'll get caught up with a project, or, I'll force myself to get into what I call monk mode, where I'm working all weekend, and I could probably pull it off once a month, one weekend a month, going into monk mode. But I noticed that when I do monk mode weekends, Monday, Tuesday, by Wednesday, I'm really burnt out, and there's a reason why we need to take time off to sharpen the saw. And, as a personal trainer, for those 10 years of building my business, I did not take any vacations. I never traveled for fun or leisure. And now I take vacations maybe every 6 to 8 weeks. I find that if I'm getting away from my daily habitat, I come back renewed and refreshed. So it's really scheduling naps, time off, days off, weeks off, vacations, and constantly checking in internally.
Yeah. So looking at yourself, realizing when, what things burn you out, what things don't, and scheduling in the things that you need to be able to stay rejuvenated. Yeah. I mean, I talk to so many people, and they're always going on about, I just need to work so I can pay the bills and all, but it's like, okay, but if you're not rejuvenated yourself, you're not actually bringing 100%. So in turn, you're not actually performing the best. So it's better to actually take a step back to come 3 steps forward. Wow.
Exactly. I actually made a video about this recently. I said, in order to gain control, you must lose control. And oftentimes, if we're stuck, we hit a plateau, we're not making any progress, we need to do the opposite of what we're doing to move forward, right? So in nutrition, if you're following a very, very strict nutrition plan and you're on a very low-calorie diet, there's a certain point where it stops working, your metabolism slows down. So we have a cheat meal. We just pig out and have a caloric surplus, and it revamps our metabolism. We're injured. I could be dealing with the injury, a broken leg, but an injury, whether it's in the gym or maybe you're not getting any stronger, perhaps, take time off from the gym, take a long break, take a week off. You come back stronger and more rejuvenated. Work is the same exact thing. Now, I haven't figured out if that works for relationships yet because I'm single, but there's probably some theory to it.
I do know. I mean, I'm married. I've been married for, I'm going to get this wrong. It's been 8 years. Yes, it has been 8 years. And yeah, sometimes having a little bit of, well, again, it's taking that time for yourself so you can then come back together stronger. So many people in relationships, I find, is they don't take time for themselves, or they feel like they always have to be there for their partner and they always have to do things for them, instead of going, okay, again, I need to step away so I can do my thing. I can be me. I can be whole, so I can then be whole for that person. So
that is a brilliant point. Yeah, 100%. That's a great quote, right? It says, absence makes the heart grow fonder. And, there is a time apart, time to let each other grow. And, because sometimes I'm not going to, say this is a bad thing, but I have certain friends who are business partners with their wives or their girlfriends, and they're with them 24/7 all the time. And I can see the havoc that wreaks on, their life and fights and conflicts. So there has to be some breaks.
It's also, as we've already said, taking that self-care for you, taking that, it's the same, doesn't matter if it's your business, your relationship, your, whatever, your training, it's taking that time for yourself. Sometimes, I train a lot as well, just like, I know you do. And because it clears the mind, but sometimes I'm like, actually, I need to take a break from, like, last year, I took a break from weightlifting and got into running. And now, just before the whole coronavirus thing was going on, I was back into weightlifting. I was taking a little bit of a break from running because I was like, okay, my body's telling me stuff because of little niggles and stuff. I need to strengthen things up. So I cut back on the running. So I'm still doing it, but I'm not doing it as hardcore, just to look after myself and really focus on, okay, what do I need? And it's just, I've found that throughout your whole life, like in all aspects, if you don't take that self-care, then everything else has a tendency to crumble apart, and then you start to feel burned out because one thing's not working like you want it to. And yeah, I don't know. What are your thoughts on that, AJ?
That is brilliant. Yeah, absolutely. I think that maybe I should have taken a break from my weight training. Maybe that caused my injury. I tore my quadricep. And that's, it's so genius because there's different modalities you could use, whether you're, let's say, powerlifting, using heavy weights, going into light weights, just getting a pump, yoga, running, staying active. And it's just giving you a variety, keeping you fresh. But at the same time, you're taking a break from the structure of doing the same thing over again.
Yeah. And you're taking that self-care, because if you don't have yourself, you can't actually, everything else just crumbles away. I've created like a pyramid, kind of like Tony Robbins' triad pyramid, but it's layers, and it's self, then it's your close family and friends, and then it's work and everything else. And obviously that bottom layer is the biggest, widest, it's the foundation.
That's beautiful. Yeah, like that whole oxygen mask theory.
Yeah, the whole oxygen. Put your oxygen mask on first before everybody else. But all right, so AJ, so what is it? I'm a huge why guy. I like to know what people's why are, what drives them to do what they do, and through the tough times and the hard times. So what would you say your why is, that does drive you through those times where it's like, okay, yeah, I need to do that monk mode and I need to get through this. But also, keeps you going in the easy times. Just what's that why, do you think?
My biggest why is I want to help 1 million people to discover their superpower and build a business that gives them freedom, flow, and financial abundance. And I find that, especially in this day and age where we're extremely limited, helping people to create something that they're born to do is the greatest gift, because they benefit themselves, they benefit their families, and they're creating something that's aligned to their life's purpose. I think one of the biggest regrets that the dying have is not doing what they were born to do, or being stuck in a job, or being stuck in some type of career that was not at their highest ideal. So for me, I found my whole life changed because, I used to be addicted to drugs. I was drinking. I just had a lot of toxic behaviors. And it wasn't until I had a near-death experience that put me in a coma for 5 days. Coming out of that, I was like, wow, I need to, create a legacy. And I got a second chance. I want to live my life in a way that I could help others. And that's where I started my business. And that's where that led me to starting my first business and getting into a creative endeavor, but becoming an entrepreneur and being self-directed and playing this new game that it was all about my personal development and serving people, understanding marketing, sales, reading all these books and just self-education. I was like, wow, my whole life changed. And, I stopped taking drugs and, drinking, and everything shifted. And I was like, wow, if this helped me so much, how can I help other people do the same thing? So giving them the tools, the knowledge, the inspiration to start their own business that's really aligned to their superpower. It's changed my life so much that I want to help as many people do the same thing.
Yeah. So taking what some people could call a tragedy to yourself, or an epiphany, and going, I don't want anybody else to experience that in a way.
Yeah, exactly. When my students, start working with me, one of the greatest questions I ask them is, what pain do you want to heal in the world? If you could eradicate a pain, or maybe something you overcame yourself, what would that be? And oftentimes when someone's like, what is my why? What did you overcome that changed your life? You want to help other people overcome that too.
Yeah, that's actually a good way. That's a good way to question it, because it does, because that drives it so strong, doesn't it? Because I've got the same thing. I don't want anybody else to experience the pain that I went through when I was in the, coming out of being a police officer, because I got so burned out and so drained. So
yeah, man.
Yeah. So what would you say? Well, you've kind of already answered it. So, if somebody's unsure of what their why or their purpose is, you just say, what would you say to them?
I'll go with the Martin Luther King quote. He has a famous quote. He says, if a man is not willing to die for anything, then he is not fit to live. And it's a great exercise. I have a journal and I write in it every single day. Actually, when I came out of my near-death experience, I started journaling. So I've not missed a day since then. And, writing down just on the top of a piece of paper, what am I willing to die for? Or what's a cause I want to dedicate my entire life to? And just writing that and just brainstorming whatever comes out, it's really amazing to see what comes through. And I believe through a writing exercise, they say your thumb is connected to your brain. So it goes deep into the recesses of your subconscious mind. And you're just able to do this brain dump to get clear on what that big mission and legacy is.
Cool. I like that. That's a good tool. So what's your number one piece of advice for listeners when it comes to, starting up their own business like you help so many people do?
Yeah, because I did it the really dumb way, and I made a lot of mistakes, and I wasted a lot of time, and I spent many years trying to figure it out myself. So when I started my business, again, I came out of this near-death experience. It was a coma. It was like, I'm just read all these books, and I did so many things wrong, and it cost me a lot of time and money. And it wasn't until 3 years after I started my business is when I hired a mentor, and that's where my whole life changed. His name is Chris as well, and he took my life and business and really accelerated my growth. And I wish I would have done that from the beginning. And nowadays, there's a lot of great mentors, a lot of great coaches, and I think if someone wants to make a transition from an employee to an entrepreneur, the fastest way, the most effective way is to hire a mentor. There's a lot of people that will literally save you 10 years of time, energy, and money and put you on the fast track. And again, like I said, you could read the books, you could get an LLC and, try to post stuff on Facebook and stuff of that nature. And yeah, you'll make some traction, but I find you'll create faster acceleration with a mentor.
Cool. And how would you recommend somebody picking a mentor?
Yeah, I think success leaves clues. One of the best ways is to talk to people that are already successful and ask them who they recommend, because oftentimes they had a mentor or they work with someone who guided their steps, or maybe they could show you, and you could pay them in some way, whether it's finances, or if you don't have the money, you could barter something with them, right? You could have a skill set that maybe you could trade, or trade toilet paper. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to go about it.
Toilet paper and hand sanitizer at the moment.
Yes.
All right,
so
AJ, if somebody's looking for your services, because that is pretty much what you do as well, you mentor people. If somebody's looking for your services, how can they get in touch with you and look into that?
Yeah, happy to help. My main website is onlinesupercoach.com, and on there I have a lot of great resources. I have a blog, video, podcast, all my books, and I have a lot of free courses and training. In fact, because of this whole coronavirus epidemic, I'm actually creating a new course. It's actually a 7-day challenge of building and starting your online coaching business and getting your first few clients. And I actually used to do this in the past every few months, and many people have made a few $1,000s in their first week of starting their business. And it's going to be on my website. You can contact me on there. And I'm actually going to be doing it live, like videos and coaching people and helping them. So it's my way of giving back, and I'm not charging anything for it. And you could always hit me up. And if you're on Facebook, my Facebook's really simple, facebook.com/AJFit, AJFIT. Send me a DM. I'll be more than happy to help you in any way I can.
Awesome, AJ. So last question I have for you. What is one thing you would tell viewers or listeners to help prevent them or counter burnout?
Ram Dass has a great quote. He said, the quieter you become, the more you could hear. And I truly feel that silence has all the answers. Our inner wisdom is the most powerful guidance system that could lead us to the promised land. And it's the simplicity of taking time each day, even if it's 10 minutes, turn the damn phone off, no screens, no stimulation, music, video, turn everything off and just sit in silence. You could start with my 100-count breathing exercise. Takes 2 to 3 minutes. Or if you're strong and mentally resilient, go into a room and don't have any noise and just sit with yourself and just see what comes up. And I find that, again, your intuition will tell you, hey, you're burnt out. You're overstimulated. You got to slow down, take a break, take a vacation, relax, right? Your body tells you. Again, I had a freak accident, but to be quite honest with you, there were signs prior to my freak accident happening that were kind of telling me to slow down and to take a break. and higher power made that decision for me. So, hey, now I'm just slowing down, man.
Yeah, that's the one I always tell everybody. I always say, everything happens for you, man. Like, it happens for you so you can use that experience because you need it.
Exactly.
So awesome, AJ. Well, thanks so much. Again, this will go live it'll actually go live here in a few weeks. And it'll be a Friday morning. We do a new episode every week. Friday morning New Zealand time. Launch it. It goes live. And subscribe. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. And hit us up with some comments. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you want us to talk about. And also, if there's anybody that you want us to interview, because we're always open to interviewing anybody. It literally can be anybody from all walks of life. Right now, I want to find a checkout clerk at Countdown and interview them and find out what's going on with them and how they're preventing themselves from burning out, because it is craziness out there.
Yeah, that's great. Maybe we should get Elon Musk on the show.
Yeah, maybe we should.